Guys, welcome to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I am your host, Allie Heisong, coming at you live from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Joined with me is my great friend, co-host Dustin out in Idaho. Dustin, how are we doing out there, man?
Allie, it's awesome out here in Idaho. Tuesday, I know some of us missed some of our folks last week, and Allie was under the weather, but she's doing better, not weather, but not corona. She just was ill, and it just seems like we're all in a better place now. And
We're all in a better place.
And you got
Guys,
your voice. You got your voice.
Yes, I had an issue with, I don't know if it was like strep throat or something, but I'm good. No corona, no nothing. Feeling good. You got to look good to feel good, and you got to feel good to play good. But guys, we have got a jam-packed show for you tonight. We missed last week. We apologize. We missed you. But because of that, we've got a jam-packed show with lots of information over 2 weeks that we need to touch on. Jamal Adams to the Seahawks, NFL Top 100 comes out. I've got some Browns players on that list that we'll touch on. Coronavirus update. We're returning to training camp, a virtual training camp session where they're going to be allowed back into the facilities. We'll dive into that later on here in the show. And then some big news with that coronavirus. NFL player opt-out. Lots going on over in New England. A couple players out from the Ravens perspective. Guys, we'll touch on this later on in the show, but lots to get to, Dustin. And we'd be remiss if we didn't bring this up later on. We got to talk some baseball, too. Cleveland Indians doing some good stuff, some crazy COVID stuff going on down there in Miami. So
hey, only in a 60-game season, maybe the Indians get into the World Series and win it in a 60-game season.
Hey, wouldn't that be something? But nonetheless, guys, we're happy to be here.
Of course they would judge us. Of course they would.
That's true. That's true. But nonetheless, guys, we're back. We're rocking. We're rolling. Super excited to be back. Talk some Cleveland Browns. Talk some NFL football. Talk some sports in general. It's been a crazy month so far. I can't even believe that we're nearing the end of July. I don't know what happened. I went to bed the other night and it was June and I woke up and it's August. What's going on here? But Dustin, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know we've got some sponsors to give a shout out to. So why don't you take the lead there?
So obviously our good friends at McGrew Designs, she makes a lot of our cool stuff. Allie's got hers as always, the nice custom mugs that we make. And we are super excited. We have a new sponsor tonight. If any of you are joining us from around the country, but anybody in the Cleveland area, there is a clothing company called Only in Cleve. What a cool name, right? Only in Cleve. And the good folks over there have come to us and we've come to them and come to an agreement that they are going to be our official clothing sponsor of the Here We Go Brownies live podcast every week. We can't be more excited about this. What's really cool is they've agreed to give our listeners every week up to a certain denomination of value free. You get that dollar amount, you get to go get it off their website. We're excited about this. Allie and I will also be sporting some of those items as well from their store, showing them and wearing some of their swag. But more importantly, we just want to give a huge shout out to the folks over at onlyincleve.com, and we will make sure to get all that up on the website. But hey, I'm excited as the season goes in. This will be fun because they have a lot of stuff. I know, Allie, you've looked on there. They have a lot of cool stuff on there.
Really cool stuff.
And not just brown stuff. It's Ohio related. It's ethnic stuff from Cleveland. It's all really cool stuff, all locally made. And we were very that was one of the things we want to do was make sure we supported a local company right there in Cleveland, and we're excited to have them.
Oh, we're so excited, Dustin. Some big things coming. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Big program coming at you tonight. Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners, because we know we want them to call in later on in the show, what's the show going to look like?
Well, the show's going to be about 8:20. So this is going to be a new segment. We're going to have people call in every time we have a show at 8:20. So the idea of that is we'll have a designated time that people can call in. Well, what's nice about that tonight is we'll take at 8:20 callers 1 through 5. And with that, the winner at number 5 gets the prize from Only in Cleve. Pretty exciting. So, and you get to pick out, we don't tell you what you get. You get to go shopping on us and the folks at Only in Cleve. So that'll happen at 8:20. We'll start taking calls at that point, and we'll answer some of your questions. If you're not caller number 5, please ask us a question. We'll answer it on air. But with that, Allie, we got a lot to get to
We
tonight.
got a lot to get to. So you heard it here, guys. Phone lines open at 8:20 Eastern. Give us a call at 216-249-6861 at 8:20. If you call before then, phone lines aren't open. You're not winning a prize. So if you're calling number 5 at after 8:20, you're winner chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Dustin, yeah, we got lots to get to. Let's start by, before we talk about anything Browns related, before we dive into that, big splash, big trade. Jamal Adams leaves New York, leaves the Jets, gets traded to Seattle, two first round picks, one in 2020, one in 2021, a 2021 third round pick, and safety Bradley McDougall, all going over to the New York Jets.
That's called mortgaging your future. It's called mortgaging your future.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, Allie, I'm out here in the West. So
yeah,
I'm in Idaho, as you know. I have a lot of Seahawk fans that kind of chirp in my ear all the time. So I had a little chirping this last week. I'm like, you realize that's one player and it's safety.
Yep.
Also, I understand the safety position is important, but if I'm mortgaging 2 more years of my first round picks and a player and another, what you said, third rounder on top of that?
Third round. Yep. In 2021.
Yeah. So you're giving up quite a bit for one player. If that's a sure left tackle Pro Bowler, okay. If that's somebody that's a Myles Garrett type of level, that a safety, I don't know. So quite honestly, I'm kind of glad maybe they did call the Browns, but I'm so glad the Browns passed on that, because that just isn't, and it's just, you never know with these players today. This is just my personal opinion, but they're going to want a big contract. They're going to want to get paid. And if you're in a spot where you're over the cap and now you've traded for this guy and you've already mortgaged your future, well, you sure can't replace him with another first round pick, because you can't do that for 3 years. So I think it was way too much. Now, I've also had my Seahawks friends tell me they're horrible at first round draft picks. Their first round drafts do not pan out ever. So they're like, hey, we suck at it anyway. Give them to somebody else. So there's kind of the argument both ways. But I don't know, Allie, that's just a lot to give away.
Well, let's look at it from, I agree from a Seahawks perspective, giving all that away to New York. If you're New York, you're saying, all right, look, this guy wanted out of here anyways. We're kind of in a really weird spot. We don't know if we're rebuilding or if we're restarting or really what's happening. We've got a third-year quarterback in Sam Darnold, who's really kind of in that same progression as Baker Mayfield, looking to take that next step with a new head coach.
Yeah, he's in that tweener season.
Yeah. He is. This is a make or break year for him as well. They didn't do a ton with their offseason, so I think that this is a pretty big splash for them. But looking at it, if you're Seattle, I know this is a lot to spend, but looking at it from a 1 year only standpoint, saying, they might be saying there in the front office, hey, I think we've got a shot here. We've got a shot.
When I saw the deal, it basically told me, what do we have to do to beat San Francisco? That's what the deal told me.
Yeah.
And if we add this, and Pete Carroll loves his safeties. That's been known for a long, long time. And basically, I think he had a lot of influence on this trade. And he said, look, if you can give me a shutdown safety over there, I think we can beat the San Francisco 49ers defense with that backfield. And by the way, we have Russell Wilson. We have all the other pieces and parts in place. I think we can win the division and possibly go to the Super Bowl. And I think they said, okay, if you think that's the case, let's go and do this. But you're right. I think they've kind of built this team for, if not this year, the next 2 years. Yeah. This is all in. We're going after this. And since they gave up their 2 picks, first rounders, basically they're saying we're going to basically make a Super Bowl in the next 2 years based on what we're doing with this pick. That's our goal.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of what the Rams did before they went to the Super Bowl. They took out a lot of these big name guys. They went out and targeted a lot of these big name guys that were due for an extension. And they just went all in. They saw their Super Bowl window. They went all in. And I kind of see that's what the Seahawks are doing this year. And I think a lot of people are going to put them as a favorite to win the division, obviously make the playoffs, and could be a Super Bowl contending team.
Yep.
What's it mean for the Jets? What's this mean?
Well,
what's going on in New York?
Well, it kind of reminds me of Browns 2.0. Now they have a lot of assets, right? What do you do with those assets? Now we look back and we know the Browns made some good choices with Myles Garrett with some of those first round picks, but sometimes you miss. So I think the opinion of the front office of the New York Jets are like, okay, if the Seattle Seahawks are crazy enough to give us all this, what do we have to lose, right?
Mhm.
We may have not wanted to sign Jamal Adams to this big contract, right? So we were already kind of like, he doesn't want to be here. We aren't going to sign him to a big contract. And wow, the Seahawks are going to give us this. What do we have to lose? So I think they kind of look at it as like, hey, we're okay, but in 3 years from now, could we be really good with 2 first-round draft picks, a player, and a third rounder? I think, if you hit on those picks, you're a much better football team in 3 years. Now, I just think there's a lot. It reminds me a lot of the Browns. They're kind of stockpiling their assets, because we also know what you can also do with stockpiling assets. You can give some of those away and trade. And hey, I have 3 of these. You only have 2 of those. And you know how the draft works. All of a sudden, you're wheeling and dealing because you have 10 picks. Well, you only want 7, so you start wheeling and dealing and getting even more draft picks. So I think the Jets are looking at like, hey, we'd like to be in the playoffs next year. We don't know how realistic it is, but Jamal Adams didn't want to be here either way, right? So we were in a lose-lose situation.
And unfortunately, I'm kind of seeing that as a growing trend. I don't know if it's Adam Gase is a bad organizational fit or if he rubs players the wrong way or what's going on in there. But, this is kind of becoming a trend where some of these players are saying, hey, get me out of here. This isn't all that it's cracked up to be here in New York. So I don't really know. I don't know what the Jets are trying to do, if they're trying to rebuild or if they're trying to just stockpile assets to take that next step. I don't know. What are they trying to do?
Well, and how about this, Allie? If we were having this conversation 3 years ago, we'd be saying this about the Cleveland Browns.
You're exactly right. Right.
How good does it feel like people want to come to Cleveland to play with Baker? People want to come to play with Jarvis. They want to come play with Miles. Those guys want to join that defense. What a different culture Cleveland has changed in the last 3 years. I mean, we are now the team that people are like, well, we used to make fun of you, but man, you have a lot of star players now. We can't really make fun of you. And oh, by the way, people want to come to Cleveland now. Like, it's a whole nother,
think about now. We won't even get started on what happened last year, because a lot of, we deserve to get made fun of there, but we won't dive into that. But one thing I do want to touch on, Dustin, before we get off of this, I don't want to dive too far into the coronavirus right now. We're going to touch on that throughout the show. Obviously, guys, we wish that you're staying safe, staying healthy out there. But from an NFL perspective, the NFL and the NFLPA come out with a plan. They both agreed to a plan that allow players to opt out of the 2020 NFL season if they are uncomfortable with the plan put in place for the COVID-19 restrictions.
Correct.
So this is in 2 tiers. They have the high risk individuals, the high risk opt out versus the voluntary opt out. So high risk individuals can opt out and receive a $350,000 stipend, and a voluntary opt out will receive a $150,000 stipend. So what that means is somebody that would be considered high risk is maybe somebody that is immunocompromised, or has a family member, or somebody that does fall under that category. They're uncomfortable with the protocols put into place. So they take a step back saying, hey, I'll take the $350,000 and I'm going to sit the season out. And then the voluntary opt out is just somebody that's saying, hey, this isn't for me this year. I'm going to take a step. I'm not going to receive what's on my contract, but I'm going to take the $150,000. And something to note, Dustin, real quick, is the players do have an option to opt out later in the season. So if they come across something like a family member does become ill or whatever, they have that option as well.
Pregnant wife. I mean, there's all those things that could play into that, of course.
Yes.
It is interesting. And I do think there's a reason there's a higher price tag on the high risk versus voluntary for obvious reasons, because clearly I think the NFL wants to have the players' safety first and foremost. I think that's why the Players Association is. We all know who the president of the Players Association is. Our boy
JC.
Yeah. So, from JC's perspective, he wants to play, but he wants to make sure all of his friends are safe, right? So, he's wearing 2 hats, and I can see that. As you know, I told you personally, my brother actually got COVID. So I've felt it firsthand, even personally, and it affects you differently. I will just tell you this: when you have somebody personally next to you, or affected, or a friend, or a family member, or a coworker, you view it differently, and people can say what they want, but you just do, because you're like, oh, now it's come home, right? It's a different feeling. Like, or you see somebody that maybe passed away, it's going to affect you differently. And at the end of the day, this is still just a sport, and I mean, now they do get paid for this, but a lot of people see it as entertainment, and this is their livelihood. It is a tough one to kind of needle, right? I mean, do you want to stay safe? You want to make sure that you want to be healthy, but you also want to play, right? You have that competitive spirit in you, like, okay, if we're going to do, let's do it. We're seeing baseballs kind of working through that, trying to figure out what that's going to look like. I get it. It's going to be tough. And we talked a little bit this offline, but the thing is, if you opt out of that, say it's voluntary, right? And you take the 150,000, somebody's going to play linebacker. If you're a linebacker, somebody's going to play that position because you got to fill a roster. Now, if that player goes in there and plays just as good as you or better, you are at risk. Unfortunately, it's a very competitive league of losing your position. Should you lose it? Probably not, but they're going to put a team on the field and they have to have the linebackers back there. So I get it. It's a tough thing we're kind of trying to work through here as a in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's crazy time. It's crazy talk. And to even have a segment in the podcast where we're talking about NFL players opting out of their contracts. But real quick, you bring me to a point. You say somebody's going to fill that spot. Take a look at what just happened today. This is day one of it. Today in New England, 6 players opt out of their contracts. Patrick Chung, Dante Hightower, Marcus Cannon, Brandon Bolden, Danny Vitale, former Cleveland Brown, and Najee Toran, which I read an article that said with those players opting out, specifically Dante Hightower, that frees up about $22 million in cap space. Guess who's right around that ballpark? Jadeveon Clowney.
Right.
What if we talked about Jadeveon Clowney many times on this show. Many times. Too many times. And I'm tired of saying that. I'm tired of talking about him. But, maybe this is kind of what we were alluding to. He's going to sit back and say, there's no need for me to sign right now. There's no need. Let me sit back and wait, see what's going on with the market and fill a need when the time comes.
Here's the thing, which I find is a little weird. I don't know what's going on over in that organization. Obviously, they've competed at a very high level for a very long time. Unless, they're in Cincinnati maybe, and, I'm just kidding. What's, they might've been in Cleveland doing something. We don't know. But here's the point though. Like we all know Bill Belichick. He is not one ever in all of his years of coaching. If a guy makes a mistake in a game, he's not afraid, unless it's Tom Brady, to pull him out of a game and say, you know what? You've had 3 false starts. You're out. I'm bringing you off the field. He's going to be like, next man up. Joe, get in there. And, oh, by the way, you look like you're doing a pretty good job. And by the way, I don't see much of a level off in play, right? Like all of a sudden,
he's going to do what he does best, and that's optimizing talent, whether that's Joe Schmo off the street or if that's Tom Brady himself.
Well, and to Bill Belichick's point, we can love to hate the New England Patriots, but the truth be known, Bill Belichick and that organization has done more with less. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Other than Randy Moss or a couple of, Edelman, they haven't had star players. They just don't. And by the way, when they ask for big contracts, Bill's like, bye. And guess what? They keep going to the playoffs every year, right? Like, it's like
there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, no, it's basically, I hate to say it, it's a little, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's the whole inside baseball, the whole analytics thing. It really is, because it's like, okay, we will put a price tag on these players and say, these are worth the money, but these guys, we don't need that much because, their role isn't as important sometimes, when it comes to the whole scheme of what we're trying to do here. And New England's gotten away with it for years.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's definitely a method to the madness there, guys. The time is now 8:20. You know what that means? The phone lines are open. Give us a call. Caller number 5, winner chicken dinner, 216-249-6861. So just to reiterate, if you give us a call, you got to ask us a question. We will answer that.
Yes.
Caller number 5, you win something.
And caller 1 through 4 and 5, we're going to ask you a question.
Yes.
So we want you to light up the phones. Let's get some people in here. But no, I think, so with that, Ellie, go ahead. And if you want to go into the next segment, and we'll just wait.
But real quick, I do want to just touch on this. At this time, the only other opt-outs in the division are 2 players from the Ravens. That's going to be offensive tackle Andre Smith and wide receiver DeAnthony Thomas. So, of course, if we find any additional information out, whether that's going to be a Browns player or somebody from another organization within the division, we will, of course, let you know. But at this time, only 2 players within the AFC North.
You got a call, Allie.
We got a call. Let's take it.
Thank you for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
This is Norman Baldwin. How you doing?
Norman.
How we doing, Norman?
Norman
the
Bottle.
show.
Norman Bottle, is that right?
Baldwin.
Baldwin. Okay, Baldwin. Sorry, couldn't hear you. And where are you calling from?
All the way out here in Sierra Vista, Arizona.
Oh, Arizona,
Wow.
Sierra Vista, Arizona. Well, you are caller number 1. Doesn't mean you can't call back. So thank you, a friend of the program. Have you been watching for a while? Are you new to us or?
No, I've been watching for a little while. Matter of fact, I'm still waiting on my coffee mug.
Yeah, I got that in the mail. I got it in the mail. Actually, your coffee mug is,
Okay.
it's in my big pile of packages with last week's show and stuff, but you will have that in the mail. It's on its way.
Well, I am definitely a fan of the show. I try
Oh.
to catch you guys anytime I get my alert up on my phone.
Oh, nice.
And I enjoy the discussions and the topics that you guys bring up, and I try to add to that whenever I'm posting questions and stuff. So
We appreciate
all
it.
about a season this year. I really think if they follow the medical guidelines and everybody buys into it, we can have a season. They just got to be able to play by the rules as far as what the doctors are saying.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Question, Norman, what question do you have for Allie and I that you'd like us to answer offline?
Well, here's one. Since we've had a lot of, I don't want to call them defections, but people deciding to opt out, and I pleasantly noticed no one from the Browns has. Have you heard anything from the Cleveland organization about a possibility about anybody opting out, or for that matter, anybody in our division opting out?
Well, I think
I've heard one Raven has opted out
Yeah.
already, but
Yes. Norman, we'll go ahead and dive into that, and we'll answer that here offline. But we appreciate you always jumping on. I see you here in the comments. Again, good friend of the show, Norman Baldwin.
Thank you, Norman. Have
for
a good
giving us
time.
call.
all right, I'll try calling back.
go Brown.
Thank you. Go Browns, man.
Over.
What
Yes.
a nice guy.
I
Ser-
love that guy. He's always interacting here in the comments. So shout out to our good friend Norman Baldwin out in Arizona.
It's only probably 115 there today.
Oh, that's it. Casual. No big deal.
All right.
But his
for
question,
calling, Norman.
what's that? I'm sorry, Dustin.
I just said thank you for calling, Norman.
Yeah, thank you. But his question is with the opt-outs, have we heard anything from the Cleveland organization? And at this point, no. Again, guys, at this time, only 2 players within the division, 2 from the Ravens, have decided to opt out. Nothing that I've heard yet, Dustin, I don't know about you, but nothing that I've heard within Cleveland. Now, of course, if that does change or we do start hearing rumors, we will notify you guys.
Well, and to be truthful, I think if you look at some of these organizations and sports in general, New England, when you look a little deeper, it's in that northeast part of the country that got hit really bad with COVID.
Mhm.
New Jersey, those states got hit really bad. We all know what happened with the Marlins, and now the Yankees have postponed their game because they played the Marlins.
Right.
And so there's a little of that sensitivity. Like we've kind of tampered down the COVID in this area, and that's the last thing we want to do is have it spike back up like it is out here in the West and the South.
Mhm.
So I think there might be some of that in play as well. But quite honestly, I think some of these players have enough money that they are also saying, I'm going to opt out. My health is more important to me.
Yep.
And we got another call. I'm going to take the call,
All right,
Alex.
let's take it.
Thanks for calling. This is Dustin and Allie. How are you?
Actually, it's Norman again.
Hey, Norman.
Hey, Norman, caller number 2.
Norman, we need to get you some competition. Yeah, you're caller number 2, Norman. Okay, we're Allie's gonna do a personal thing to try to get more people to call in now. She's gonna see if we can get you a little competition. But you're caller number 2 though.
All right, I'm gonna keep calling it.
It must be because you're out in Arizona, man. You're obviously getting you're getting a closer phone connection or something. So.
Maybe so.
All right. Thanks, Norman.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, folks. 216-249-6861. We'll have Allie put that phone number in the
I
comments.
just put it out there.
216-249-6861. We'd like to hear from other folks other than Norman, although we do love Norman.
love
He's a
you,
friend
Norman.
of the
We
family.
do. Good for the program.
And it just goes to show you, Allie, what it just warms my heart. We have listeners all over the country.
I know. I love it.
It's so cool. We got Arizona. We had a guy call, was it Arkansas or Alabama?
Arkansas last week. Yep.
We had a few people from right in Ohio, a few people calling into the show. We love you guys. I mean, it warms our heart when we hear like, where are you calling from? And it's like, wow, we have somebody calling from here.
Right.
And then of course, across the pond, we have friends that call in from,
Exactly. It just goes to show, you guys, of course, we appreciate you. We love you. We really, really love interacting with you. But it's a show by the fans for the fans. We want to present to you, as unbiased as we possibly can be, and informative and entertainment content. So we appreciate all of you guys. 216-249-6861. Give Norman some competition, guys. Come on, give us a call. Fifth winner or fifth caller is the winner.
It's a chicken dinner.
Chicken dinner. All right, we'll keep going though. We'll wait on those guys to call in. Dustin, if we get a call, please interrupt me.
I'll just raise my hand. I'll just give you like that.
Yeah, give me a little thing. I'll see you.
Yeah.
But while we're still on the subject of coronavirus, let's talk a little bit about the training camp. So COVID testing starts today. Today, July 28th, Tuesday, July 28th. So coronavirus testing starts today. They're going to go through virtual meetings with their position groups. I'm sure Coach Stefanski is going to put on a whole thing for everybody. This is all virtual while they are awaiting their coronavirus test to come back. Now, if they get 3 consecutive tests that come back negative, then they are cleared for physical activity to go in to the facilities and to be cleared to get their physicals.
Right.
So that starts on Monday. They will go through an acclimation period of conditioning in groups of no more than 15 people. And the team will be permitted to do walkthroughs at that time. After that, starting on Friday, August 14th, the full team will start practicing contacts, full contact, everything, starting on the 17th. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel here. The tests start today. So like I said, 3 negative coronavirus tests come back, they're cleared to enter the facility. At that point, they're going to take their, let's take it.
Okay. Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. This is Dustin and Allie.
Hey, this is Mike Newport. How you guys doing?
Mike Newport, how we doing?
Mike, where are you calling from tonight?
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio. See, all over the world.
All over the place.
So you are caller number 3. We of course want you to try to call back in. But Mike, thanks for being a part of our program, for calling in. We love you. What question would you like Allie and I to answer offline when we hang up from you here?
Well, I noticed that we were the first team to sign off our draft picks. I was wondering, has everybody reported, or are they still waiting on the stipulations, or are they going to report to camp, or what's going to go on with that?
Okay, you just want kind of an update on what the Browns are doing and where our camp situation is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll answer that. Mike, thank you for calling, and go Browns.
Go Browns, Mike, thank you. That is Mike Newport, good friend of the show. He comes in with a really great question. That actually brings me to a point here real quick. This isn't Browns related, but the Bengals did just sign Joe Burrow, so he is scheduled to report. But yes, so kind of going off of the virtual training camp, like I said, they are going to go through, starting today, a series of COVID-19 testing. At this time, it looks like everybody has been signed and is scheduled to report. So what that's going to look like once they get in the building, of course, they do need to have those 3 consecutive negative tests. Then they will be allowed to report, to do the full meetings, to do the walkthroughs, to come into the facility and all that good stuff.
Well, and to your point, Allie, if anybody is going to be very strict and regimented about testing, the NFL is going to be over the top with testing. Yeah. I've talked about this at length. I don't know how we're going to have college football here and there. It's just that's 100 players on each side of the ball, that show up for practices.
Right.
It's going to be tough. Like I mean, we're going to know in the next week to 10 days about college football, but college football is Power 5, smaller, it's all over the place, small budgets, big budgets. The NFL can put the money out and say, whatever costs, we don't care, do the testing. College football can't do that.
Correct.
So I do have the confidence. They just tested everyone in the National Hockey League, and I don't think one person tested positive. So I think with major organizations that have the regimen and the money to do it, can do it right. With baseball, again, it's a little wonky. I think sometimes the hockey could get into the same situation that baseball does. You have multiple games, multiple nights, over and over again. Football is typically one game a week, right? You have contact with those players one time, 7 days or 6 days off, right? So it's a little different, but it's, and the bubble down with basketball down in Florida seems to be working so far. I don't know if I told you this, but they literally have a little buzzer that people press everybody.
Yes.
And if it goes off, if I get 6 feet close, you're like, back up. you know the plan.
Right. I think they were talking about this on Cleveland Browns Daily today. The extent of technology that they're really going to have to come out with for these guys, because you're going to have tier 1, tier 2 kind of guys in the organization. That's including media. That's including everybody, the announcers. That's Jim Donovan, Doug Deacon, Nathan Zagura. If they're going to be able to travel with the team, they're going to have to wear that equipment, saying, and just think, for as strict as it's going to be within the organization and the protocols that are in place to protect the team, each individual player also has to have that same level of responsibility with their family members, with their outside environment. That's a huge factor right there in itself, because this is not going to be
and
bubble
I think
like it is with the NBA.
And I think that's where you get in the biggest trouble. The players can be as careful as they want, and the organization can try to do that. But if you go over to a friend's house or whatever, or you interact,
or if you're Lou Williams going to the strip club down in Orlando,
there's that.
It's not going to work out.
All right. Got a call coming in. Is this number 4? Is this number 4?
This is number 4.
All right. Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who is this? Oh, missed the call.
Uh-oh.
Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
Your friend Norman again.
Norman.
Hey, Norman, he's trying to win here.
Okay, Norman.
Call number 4.
You're 4, Norman. You're number 4. If you want to recall, you might win. You've got some competition out there. Mike's called in. We have a wild card we don't know who calls in next, but you're on the block. You can call back.
Here it goes.
Okay. I love Norman. Here we go.
He's a good one.
I have a feeling Norman's going to call back. I don't know.
I have a good feeling Norman's going to be our winner here.
I think Norman wants. Oh, let's see if this is Norman. This is funny. Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
Norman Jr.
Here we are.
Norman Jr. It's Norman Jr. now.
Well, guess what he is?
All right, Norman's
the winner.
Yeah, Norman Baldwin Jr. So shout out to my dad, Norman Sr., who's in the Cleveland area.
You are a winner.
Norman, we really appreciate it. And whoever is calling in right after this, call us back. We want to answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's another call coming back. As soon as we get Norman off here, we already have all of Norman's information.
Yep.
So Norman, you're going to get a prize. We're going to talk about what prize you're going to win right now. And I'm going to take this other call.
All right.
Go Browns.
Go Browns, Norman. Thank you.
Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
This is Mike Newport again.
Well,
Mike Newport.
Mike, you're calling number 6. But I know your boy Norman beat you to it.
That's all right.
So that Norman guy, all the way from Arizona, he's speed dialing on you.
That's great. That's fantastic. He's out there in Arizona. Good for him.
Yep. Hey, anyway, thanks for calling back. We'll shut the phone down line, but thanks for you guys calling in tonight.
All right, man. You guys have a good one.
You too.
Have a good one.
Go
Thank
Browns.
you.
Go Browns.
So Norman, well, you're going to get 2 prizes now, Norman. You get your mug and Norman, here's the cool thing. The friends over at Only in Cleve I'm going to give him your information. Reach out to the Here We Go Brownies page again, please, if you can, and put some comments in there, because you're actually going to be able to get a shirt or anything up to $26 in value. But you know what? Our phone lines are lighting up.
Let's take it.
Let's take it. Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this? And they hung up. That's all right. It happens.
Hey, it happens.
So,
We hear ya.
So Norman, and this goes to anybody else that calls in every week now. Oh, they're calling again.
Let's take it.
Thanks for calling the Here We Go Brownie Show. Who's this?
This is Joshua Leonard.
What's your name? I'm sorry. What was the first- Josh?
Yeah, Josh Leonard.
Josh Leonard. Hey, and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Byers, Texas.
Texas, Byers, Texas. I love it. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll take your question. I mean, you're obviously caller number 7, so you just missed the window there, but we love you. Have you been a friend of the show for a while, or did you just, Allie's on nodding yes, she says yes. So what's a question that you'd like for Allie and I to answer?
First is, do you think there's going to be a NFL season this year, because they already canceled preseason?
Okay. Will there be an NFL season because they've already canceled preseason? Okay.
Let's dive in, Dustin.
We'll get into that right now. I think that was one thing we did want to talk about with the whole, we were already on that subject, but we will totally continue that. But that's a great question. And Josh, as always, thank you for joining the program, and go Browns.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So yes, great question out of Josh. As always, Josh, thank you for giving us a call. He's asking, do you think there's going to be an NFL season because they just canceled the preseason? So kind of just on that same topic that we're going into. I think so, yes. At this point, I think it comes down to, Dustin, it comes down to everybody maintaining their responsibility. Like I said, it's not just the organization, because the organization can only do so much. The NFL can only do so much. It's up to these players, the people around these players, their family, their friends, all of the external factors, to be as strict as possible during this time.
Right.
If you want football, if you want football, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So I think,
what's interesting, sorry, but what's interesting, like we all had these essential employees, right? That was kind of the conversation when this first started out. I kind of think the NFL players kind of have to take this stance if they want to play, that they're kind of essential employees. And if they get hurt or something happens to them, not hurt, sorry, but it gets sick because of COVID, there's not someone to replace them because they're kind of essential, right? So I think if they kind of have that mindset, just like our essential workers do, they're very safe, right? They know the protocol, like you or I have to work. I can't go expose somebody if I know, or, I just can't be in that environment. I think you'll see some of that. But, the NFL, I could also see if they need to hit the pause button on the season, they will. Mm-hmm. And I'm in full support of this. I'm assuming there'd be some people around the country that would feel the same way. If there is a vaccine and it has gotten a green light, I'm okay with giving it to some of our sports players first and the rest of the country all at the same time if they want it, and say, look, we have the vaccine. We will give it to you. We'll give it to everybody on the team. So, that could happen in the middle of this, right? We don't know. This could happen.
We don't know what's going to happen. Right.
Yeah. We could be in the middle of a football season. COVID could be hit and miss, and there's a vaccine out. Well, that changes the whole dynamic, right? So do I think we will have a season? Absolutely. And the reason I do think we'll have a season is basically baseball put their season on hold for 4 months, basically, and they still had a season. Now they shortened it, and they said, but I mean,
it's still a hot mess.
Yeah, but we can agree to disagree. 162 games, is it really necessary in baseball? That's a lot of games, right? But if you get into week 4 or you delay the season, there's always that, right? You can postpone the season. You're only having to make up a game here or there. Right. Whereas if you miss a whole home series with the Marlins, you got to make up 6 games all of a sudden.
Exactly.
And you're playing 60 games in 67 days. How the heck do you do that, right? Like, is that 3 double headers? I mean, like, that's a lot of mathematical problems.
And think too, Dustin, this doesn't just impact the organization and the players directly. Think about the players that think of maybe a guy who's kind of on the cusp of making the team, or a guy that's been cut. Think down the line, we get to week 8 and we have a whole chunk of people that are players that test positive. And now a team needs a kicker. So if you've ever kicked in the NFL or for the NFL, you should be ready at all times to take that phone call. So you need to make sure that you are following the protocols. You're following the guidelines,
Right.
because if you are called upon, you are going to have to come in and do that job.
Yeah.
And same goes, I think that I kind of took this off of CBD today. They were talking about like the quarterback room. Should Case Keenum and Baker Mayfield really ever have to come in contact right now? Or should we try to keep them as separate as possible, if that's feasible, to make sure that there's always a quarterback ready to go? God forbid one of them comes down with it, the other one's ready to go.
I never thought of it,
Yeah.
but that is one position where
The one
that
position.
guy should always be about 10 feet away from me.
Yes. Yep. Those
And
two.
by the way, when he comes in to do the ones and the twos and the threes, there's no interaction with us.
Exactly. They
gotta
should have the ones on ones only, twos, threes. Basically have 3 separate teams and practice squad,
Yep.
all doing their own thing.
Because you don't want the other guy touching the ball. I mean, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there are all those safety protocols with all that.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I never thought about that. You certainly don't want 2
Yeah.
quarterbacks standing shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
I mean, even in the football game, they probably shouldn't be standing next to each other.
No, keep them on the whole other side of the thing. Don't come in contact for weeks. I don't want to see Baker and Keys hanging out.
But think about what we're saying, Allie. This is crazy talk. I mean, in some ways, what we're saying. I mean, that we're down to this, like, I don't want to see you, I'll wave at you, like, I know who you are,
We can Zoom.
but it's like, but at the same time, now I will say this, I do feel confident with something like that because Case Keenum
Mhm.
knows Stefanski's offense. He's ran it. He had the best season of his career
Correct.
under Stefanski. I mean, went to the NFC
Championship game, yes.
with him. So I think he's going to be like, yeah, I know exactly what Stefanski's doing here. I don't need to be in the huddle with Baker.
Right.
If I need to go, I know the 2 tight end set. I got it. I mean, it's not like I'm having to learn a new playbook, right? This isn't
Right.
like I'm not going back to school here. So I'm okay with that. Like,
And I think that I know we've touched on backup quarterbacks throughout the league on a different show, but I think it just really benefits teams this year to have invested in a decent backup quarterback. Because if we're looking at this, if we're in the same position that we were in last year, let's say we have Drew Stanton and Garrett Gilbert as our backup quarterbacks, this is probably a completely different conversation, Dustin.
oh, it is. And so I have a friend that's a huge Chiefs fan,
Yeah.
they won the Super Bowl. And I said, who's your backup quarterback? And when someone has to hesitate and think about it,
Yeah.
that means he's unknown and never has significant playing time in the National Football League. Like,
Right,
oh,
right.
it's so and so, right?
It was like Chad Henne or somebody like that, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
But you don't know till they come in, right?
Yeah.
Because then
And that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought because God forbid, and I don't even want to put it out there, God forbid you have a backup plan. You have somebody you can trust. That's the one position you can send anybody out there. Not really, but you can put David Njoku in the backfield for a set if you need
Well,
to.
you know what you're not even thinking about here? What can come into play?
What?
Street free agent. You sign a quarterback for a week to
Right.
come in or 2.
Yeah. That's
mean-
what I'm saying. They have to be
Yeah.
ready to go at all times. If you've
Yeah.
ever played in the NFL or have come close, you've been on a practice squad. If you have any ties to the NFL, you need to be ready to go, healthy, safe, following protocol, and just in shape.
This might be the opportunity that you actually get to take a
Yes.
snap in the National Football League.
Yes.
God forbid something happens, right?
Yep.
Because and it's such a competitive league, they'll be like, well, there's so and so, he can still play quarterback. He's retired, but I'm pretty sure if we brought him in, he'd be just fine.
I'd agree with that. So Damon Sheehy Giuseppe, getting gear, man. So let's jump off that. We are running a little long here. One thing I do want to touch on, Dustin, is we had 3 Cleveland Browns, 3 of them so far in the NFL top 100 that's come out. I think they're currently at number 40.
Yeah.
So they're still counting down. We still have some hope to go. I don't know if Nick Chubb's going to enter the conversation.
Your boy Nick Chubb.
I love Nick Chubb. I love that guy. And we'll make our predictions here later on for him.
My boy made our list.
Yes, Miles comes
I don't
in
like
at
where he's
number 80.
I don't like where he's at, and I would tell
Well,
him.
here's the thing, Dustin, though. Like, a lot of these guys that vote on this, they're voting in the season. So their minds, let's say you're voting in December. Well, Myles Garrett's been suspended for 5 weeks at that point or whatever it was. You probably forget that he
And-
even existed.
And you don't know if he's playing next year because he had
Correct.
an indefinite
Right.
indefinite
So
suspension.
that plays into it.
Yeah.
That
I
plays
think
into it.
I think he's in the middle of the pack with our other boys if that's not the case. I think
Yeah,
he's
I mean, I think if this was a regular year for Miles, if he hadn't have had the issue that he had, he'd be easily a top 20 player in the NFL. Easily. My
and a
God.
Pro Bowl, and he probably would have went to the Pro Bowl. Just
Yeah,
saying that.
he probably would
Love
have been
it.
the defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, no questions asked. So he comes in at number 80. Jarvis Landry comes in at number 61, which is a huge jump from him from 2019, because in 2019 he came in at 84. So pretty big jump there for Jarvis Landry, and then OBJ coming in at 59 on the NFL Top 100. So at this point, guys, we've only been to, I think,
Well,
top 40.
And let's be completely transparent there.
Mm-hmm.
We all think and believe that OBJ has better season ahead of him and probably does based on last year. And to your point, that was judged on his season in Cleveland last year, probably, right? So he might be top 50, right? Like he should be up that. Yeah, I mean, he should be up in that, top 50 easily if he has the season that everybody thought he was going to have, right? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this list looks like next year.
Well, I'm interested to see what the rest of the list is going to look like, because like I said, we're only, I think, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I think they got down to the top 40 so far, or from 100 to 40. So we've still got 39 to number 1 to go.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see who else is on that list. My vote, my guess is obviously Nick Chubb. I think he's, I told you offline, I think he's a top 25 player. I think he makes the top 25. You gave me some reservation there. Do you have any Browns players that you think are going to come in that may surprise you in that top 40?
No, I don't think. Maybe Baker. I mean, and the reason I say that, and just because quarterbacks hold so much weight, maybe they put him, because there's
think about this. In last year's, before this debacle of a season, he came in at, I think, number 50.
Okay.
So obviously he took a step back.
Okay.
So I would assume probably not there.
And they base it on his breaking the rookie season record there. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So they view it 1 year at a time. So that makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Nick Chubb. I mean, he was only a few yards away from being the National Football League rushing guy. I think he's probably the one that breaks through. I think this will be a fascinating list next year, because if we think we're going to have the season let's knock on wood, sit around whatever wood next year. There could be a lot of those Browns, right? That kind of elevate, right? So I have a little bit of a subject that one of our folks wanted to address, and I think Allie, you'll like to get into this as well.
Yeah.
Competition with really a shortened kind of weird training camp, no preseason games. What kind of level of play will these players be playing at, and what will that look like for the player with not as much practice and reps and all that? What kind of quality of product will we see game 1 in the National Football League? And I think that's a great question. Now, I think these guys are the pros, and like some of these guys could just get off the couch and go out and literally do this because they're the best of the best, right? But we all know, with everything, practice makes you better. I have friends that golf, and it's called, muscle memory. And every time you play golf and you keep doing it, you're so good because of your muscle memory, but you also need those reps and stuff. So Allie, what do you think? That question came up is, does this affect the quality of play and what we see in the NFL?
Yes, it will. And I think that the Browns are a little bit at a disadvantage here because they have a first-year head coach. This is Baker's 3rd or 4th play caller of his short career. So yes, I do think that there is going to be a learning curve. And I think that the Browns are a little bit at a disadvantage in that regard, because if you take a look at the Ravens, who are basically bringing everybody back in the same system, muscle memory, you just come back and do it. The only learning curve is going to be from the rookie perspective. Sure. But I think if you take a look at somebody like, same coach, same everything, same offense, same quarterback. If you look at somebody like the Browns, there's so many other teams that are in the same position, but the Panthers even, or the Jets or the Giants, we're all in the same boat where newer head coach anyways, new play calling, new assets
Because
added to the team, new
offensive
acquisition.
scheme.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many guys that haven't played with each other before, a new playbook. But as far as the level of play go, no, I think as far as the veterans go, everybody's going to be on the same boat. They've all, like you said,
Sure.
pros, they've all been working out, they've all been training, they're probably better now than they have been in years because they've allowed their body to rest.
Yeah.
They're refreshed, they're coming back full strength.
And they've wanted to, and they've been, and just like a lot of us, they just want to hit somebody, right? If you're on
Yep.
defense, right? I mean, they want to get out there and play. So I think it also takes down maybe. I think it also takes down the risk of injury that these guys are worried about. I mean, here's the one thing I think with canceling the preseason, this only not kicks the can down the road, but I think in the NFL, we're going to see less preseason games as we go into the future when we do some of the collective bargaining stuff, because that's been one of the biggest complaints with players is like, do we need 4 preseason games?
Mhm.
And by the way, 2 is probably okay, right? I think everybody's kind of agreed 2 preseason games. And I think that's why we saw the NFL first cancel 2 preseason games, right? Because like we know that's going to make the players happy. That's kind of what they want anyway. And then they canceled the whole preseason. But it sure reduces that chance of you tearing an ACL in a non-meaningful game in week 1 of the preseason. And now you're sitting there going, crap, we just lost our star left tackle or whatever. And it was a meaningless game that meant nothing, right? So
Yes.
I think, yeah, I mean, and here's the thing where it's different than other sports. Baseball, spring training, the chance of getting hurt, not as much. It's not a contact sport as much, right? You know, even in preseason games, you want to have that competitive edge. You want to go hit somebody and you want to get your practice in. And for a lot of those guys, it's making the roster or not, right? Like they're giving it, they're all out there. Like, I want to make this 54-man roster in the practice squad or something. So I have to give it everything. So yeah, I think you're right. That is going to affect the quality of play.
And I think too, who it's really going to impact is obviously the rookies,
Oh,
especially not having that rookie training camp, the OTAs, the preseason even. I mean, think about it this way: you have Jedrick Wills, who played right tackle at Alabama, who's now transitioning under Bill Callahan to play left tackle, which I'm all for. You know, I love the guy.
Yep.
He's not getting the preseason snaps. He's not getting the reps in training camp. I mean, he will, but he's not getting the rookie mini camp, the OTAs, all of that.
He's not basically getting to familiar, get familiar.
Yeah, he's going to come out week 1, his first snap at left tackle in the history of his life in the NFL, going up against Matthew Judon of the Baltimore Ravens. There is going to be a learning curve. There is. I mean, there just simply is. I think he can handle it.
Or he knocks a guy on his butt and was
or that. But I'm just saying from a whole rookie perspective, I think he
rookies make mistakes, clearly. And here's the one thing that I've talked to former Boise State players that have actually, Billy Wynn, who played on the Browns here for a while.
Yep.
And I said, so tell me, like, you're a Brown now and you played for Boise State. And I said, tell me what the difference is. He goes, everything is faster. Everything is quicker. Everything seems like it's just, you thought it was fast in college. You have no idea when you get to the pro.
Right.
Because everything is like, you basically are playing a movie and you just push fast forward because things are going much quicker. Offenses react quicker. Defenses react quicker. And he goes, I know it was fast, but until you're in a live game and it's happening, it's like, it's unreal.
Yeah. I think everybody's going to be in the same boat. Obviously, it's not just like the Cleveland Browns were the only ones that weren't able to practice or do this or that. So I think we're all going to be in the same boat here. Weeks 1, 2, and 3 are probably going to be a little weird. It's probably not going to be as sharp as it normally would be, but I think we all know that. We understand that. But we'll see. I'm excited to see what takes place, how it plays out, and at what level.
So, Allie, with that said, what do you think will have more of a problem adjusting with not as much repetition, the offenses or the defenses?
Definitely for us, the Cleveland Browns, I think it's going to be the offense.
Okay. And I think in general for NFL teams, I think it would be defenses.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Because defenses are always kind of, they're always having to prepare what's thrown at them, right? Or offenses already know what they're doing when they go out there, right? For the most part, like, hey, we're going to play this. And unless they're going to out scheme us or know what we're doing over there. So we might see, and I don't know, but we might see some sloppy football in the sense of maybe some high scoring games and the defense is just getting torched, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you could see that like, man, that guy blew his coverage, or
Yeah. And the reason I say that, and I think you make a really good point about the defense, most of the time that is going to be like running around like a crazy person trying to get adjusted to what the offense is bringing at you. But if you look at the Cleveland Browns, I think that what they're bringing back on defense, there's a lot of veteran presence outside of the linebacking room. We know this,
Yep.
but what they have at the defensive front, I think, is going to be pretty substantial going up against offenses, and it fits well into the Joe Woods scheme. And I say
Mhm.
the offense
Yeah.
not because I don't think Kevin Stefanski's offense is capable or the guys aren't capable of producing at that level. I just think this is Baker's fourth playbook he's had to learn, third playbook. I mean, it's a lot in a 3-year span. So I think he's capable. I think he's willing and able. But I just think for us specifically, that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge at hand.
Well, I have a little sneaking suspicion, and we'll remember this show in July. But you know who's been really quiet for a long time? Baker Mayfield.
Baker.
And let me tell you, to quote one of our former GMs, you may have just awakened a sleeping giant in Baker Mayfield because he's taking it all in, right?
What he needs
Just
to do.
because what does he love to play with? A chip on his shoulder.
On his shoulder.
And I love it that I love that he's not saying anything. Just like, all right, I'll take it. Keep giving it. Keep giving it. And I think a lot of it he's getting is, I mean, some of it, okay, some of it is deserved, but a lot of it's just dumb stuff. And I'm like, really? Like, this is his third year, to your point, fourth playbook coming in. Give the guy a little bit of slack here, but I tell you what, I think he could come out there, and I think when you have people like OBJ saying we have unfinished business to do in the land, I think that group of folks have made a pact with themselves. We're going to go out and we're going to stomp people, and we're going to be like, you know what? Just keep talking, and we're going to do our business. Because what I noticed about this year's Browns, they're pretty darn quiet, and they're not saying a lot. And I love that.
I love it.
And I tell you what that'll do is be like, teams aren't going to respond to, oh, the Browns are back and they're going to the Super Bowl. Because you know what? That just feeds into teams playing you like, they already got beat up for that, right? So now they can be like, all right, you're right. You kicked us around last year. Guess what?
I can't wait, Dustin. I'm telling you, I'm ready to run through a wall right now. I'm just so excited about it. But you're right. I think you're right. Laying low, chip on the shoulder, and I think that applies to the whole team. I think there's so many people on this team, coaches included, that have something to prove this year.
Oh.
This is prove it for the Cleveland Browns. Do or die, sink or swim.
Yeah.
So guys, with that, running a little long, we'll wrap up with some closing thoughts here. Great discussion as far as the Browns go. Lots to get to around the league. Guys, like I said, if we find out any additional information regarding the Browns, if there's any coronavirus players opting out, anything like that, we will notify you, whether that's a post or going live or doing whatever. We'll put that out there for you guys. Thank you to everybody who called in. Norman, winner, chicken dinner. Great calls, great questions. Love interacting with you guys as always. Real quick before we wrap up, we have to talk about this because Cleveland Indians just came out and made a huge statement with our boy Shane Bieber, Cookie Carrasco, and Mike Clevenger threw a combined 18 innings, giving up 4 runs, 13 hits, 2 walks while striking out 30. Insanity.
I'm telling
Insanity.
You, I told you, I said this earlier this year, 2020, the Browns may be part of 2020 and a part in history that people will never remember, but how cool would it be in a shortened 60 game season, the Indians win the World Series and the Browns go to the playoffs or get to the Super Bowl? I think that city would go bonkers. They would go bonkers. But to somebody's point, they said when you only play 60 games, if you start fresh, to your point, what you're saying, fast and you go, and then you win the division, it's anybody's game in the playoffs. And with the weird COVID thing, now they'll be there. Oh, the Indians won it with an asterisk in the, short. I don't care. It's a World Series.
Exactly. And if everybody's playing a shortened season, then there is no asterisk.
Correct.
I mean, I think if it's
but you
only
know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. A win's a win. But real quick, I want to touch on Oliver Perez becomes the longest tenured Mexican-born pitcher in big league history. So a big celebration out to him. I know he was pretty emotional after that achievement. So that's awesome. Shane Bieber, 14 strikeouts on opening day. Enough of that. I just had to throw it out there.
No, that's
and of
awesome.
course, we all know what's going on with the Marlins. 17 plus players testing positive on the team. We don't know what that's going to look like in terms of
Sounds like somebody had a
future.
house party. That's just
yeah,
crazy.
that just doesn't sound very good. So we'll keep you posted on that front if anything does change with the MLB.
Well, and let's be honest, we want everybody to be safe, and we already know they've canceled like the Republican National Convention, you know, for the most part in Florida. They've done a lot of things in Florida that because of the outbreak, and you know, it's the Florida Marlins. So a part of me thinks it's kind of spreading like wildfire down there in that area. You know, they've shut down a lot of Miami because of that. So they might have tried to be as careful as they wanted, right? You know, and unfortunately with just one contact and boom, 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 it's dominoes after that. So yeah.
You're right about it. You're right about it. Nonetheless, guys, we're going to wrap up. Great show, Dustin. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you can, go like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We love interacting with you guys week after week. Dustin, go ahead.
And just a great shout out to McGrew Designs, our sponsor. She's got some new stuff coming to us here in the next week or so. Custom stuff that she makes just for our show. But she makes custom stuff for everybody. So if you have kids or all kinds of stuff, check her out, McGrew Designs on Facebook. And of course, we are super excited, of course, for our new sponsor, Only in Cleve. And our friend Norman is going to get to pick out up to $26, I believe is what that is, for the amount that they get to have towards anything on the website. So if it's a $26 t-shirt, it's free. And then you just have to pay for shipping, which isn't terrible. But if you're in the Cleveland area, you can probably go pick it up at a store. So we're excited to have them on Only in Cleve. So Allie, with that, what a great show.
What a great show. Great to talk to you guys. We missed you. We love interacting with you. So guys, tune in next week to another show of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. With that, Dustin, stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, guys, go Browns.
Go Browns.